We are Rogue Media Sports.
Happy Thanksgiving to Pete Souza. And everyone else, happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. It is Wednesday. It is, boy, talk about one for the hometown heroes tonight. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Hit up your local bar, see all those high school friends that you didn't actually want to see again, and those that you did want to see again. And really start talking about the good old days. Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I know that's on the docket for Zach Burke, who's keeping us on the air today. I'm Kim Stewart for the Cam Show. I thought that was a dramatic entrance. What? I thought that was good.
Yeah, no, it's just me.
It's very like 2001, Space
and it just
Odyssey.
fade in from black. But I didn't have any like epic,
We're working on the music.
Yeah, all right.
Working on the music. It's a YouTube thing, so that's tough.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, for sure. That's why we didn't do it. We didn't know if we'd have the money to pay for that. So.
Did you ever have that, by the way? I know you're not going to do it now. You're married. You've got a kid now. But like the first couple of years out of high school, you lived close enough to Riesel, like small town, much like me.
Yeah.
Did you ever do the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving thing?
Like kind of like a Friendsgiving type thing?
Well, see, what in my hometown, it was like when you came back from college and then a couple of years after college, you would go to the local bar and like catch up with everyone.
Gotcha.
And it would just be a blowout.
So
now at my age, I'm 27 now. So it's a few years removed from that. Now I think my friends are doing a Friendsgiving thing.
No.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Like there was no bar in town.
Where is the closest bar?
You have to drive to Waco.
Which is what?
It's about
half hour?
15-20 minute drive if you're making. I mean, you can make decent time on 6.
To downtown, yeah.
Yeah, to like get over. Yeah, to like over here,
That's
it's like
fine,
15-20 minutes. That's not too bad. Obviously, though, you have to bring a DD because you don't want to drive all the way back.
Yes. Yeah.
My 21st birthday. I don't know if I've ever shared this story, but I will
Please,
because of it. My 21st birthday, I have twin brothers that are 4 years younger than me. So they were able to drive, and I wrangled one of them into being
they were
my
like
DD.
10 years younger than
No,
you.
it's just 4.
All right.
So they're in their 30s now too.
Bummer.
Don't know why that was. Yeah, it happens to us all. You'll get there. And so one of them was I talked him into being my DD, and I got pretty sauced on my 21st to the point where on the way home I'd heard a Dave Matthews Band song in the Denny's. Yeah. I also said I don't know if I've ever told you the story where I yelled "fuck ham" in the middle of Denny's.
Fuck ham.
Yeah, the guy was with Paul.
I kind of vibe with that. I'm not a big ham.
Paul Catalina.
Yeah.
He was with me trying to help take care of me on my 21st birthday, and he was pitching things that I might want off the menu, and I felt like he kept bringing up moons over my hammy too much, so I just yelled out "fuck ham" in the middle of Denny's, to which it kind of scared our waitress, and I had to apologize to her. But
fuck him.
Yeah, I felt really strongly about it. But I heard a Dave Matthews Band song in there while we were eating, so I made them download it on my phone. It was I Did It, in case you want to know which one exactly it was. And that is the only song we listened to on the 15-minute drive back to Riesel on repeat as my brother drove me.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. That beats any of the hometown hero night before Thanksgiving things.
Well,
which I only got to do like twice, but I'm not smarting over it.
Here's the thing too, and I don't know how it is in your hometown with this, but for me, like a lot of the people that are still there, are still there. So they always kind of see each other.
Exactly it.
Yeah, so they already see each other kind of.
So that is a great point, because that was the Wednesday before. It was called Players. The bar's called Players. It's a nice little bar. I mean, it's not total dive or anything. It's pretty nice. And I would just remember we would do that, and it would be the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And sometimes we'd come back in the summer or anything something like that. And it was a great chance for me and my friends to catch up, because we were all coming back from college. But most of the people there, it was like, this is their Saturday night.
Yeah.
Friday night, like with just some guest stars, some cameos coming in, like, you know what I mean? Like, but they treated it like this big deal too, and we're like, don't you guys do this all the time?
It's like the returning like cast favorites from back in like season 3 and 4 that are showing up now in season 9. You're like, oh,
for somebody's wedding.
Yeah, it's like, oh, shit, did you see the episode where Cam came back? Let's go ahead and watch that.
Oh, but
yeah.
that is a great example. Not that I'm gonna pump my own tires too much. I wouldn't say I'm like swimming in it or anything, but it was like some of my friends who went to even better schools than I did, and it was like those great actors from the sitcom that left the sitcom to do movies. You know what I mean? And then they come back.
Yeah.
Oh man, tough night to be traveling. I got to drive up to the Metroplex tonight.
Oof.
Like tonight, not this afternoon, which sucks. It's a shit.
I
day
always
to be
enjoy
driving.
night driving, just not holiday night driving.
Yeah, but the night before Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
it sucks. It sucks. So I'm not looking forward to that. But I am looking forward to feasting tomorrow, as if it's anything different from my normal life. At least it's home cooked.
Yeah.
So-
The thing that I love most about Thanksgiving, the thing I'm most thankful for Thanksgiving is turkey and dressing. I feel like it's something that while I can make it anytime I want to, it's a staple of like,
Turkey and dressing.
yeah, or stuffing, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is
sorry.
that interchangeable? I didn't know if you were putting like ranch dressing. on
No,
the
no, no.
turkey.
I think technically there is a little bit of a difference, but when
Okay.
you're like, from small town Texas like I am, you call a pond a tank and shit like that. So
Sure, of course.
yeah. So
Hope this helps.
yeah, maybe not. Maybe you're even more confused. But they're the same. So turkey and stuffing, or
Okay.
just
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna see if there's a difference.
I like turkey, man. People give turkey a bad rap the last few years. It's become this chic thing to shit on turkey. Is it the best thing at Thanksgiving? I don't think so, but I'm sick of like the shitting on turkey, man. Turkey's fine. It's good. Goes well with cheese. Not in this particular meal, but you know what I mean.
Okay.
It puts you to sleep. I like that.
Dude, the tryptophan is real. It's the difference is how it's cooked. Stuffing is cooked inside the bird. Dressing is made
Yes.
separately. though.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you for that, Zach.
No
You don't do
problem.
brisket at all?
For Thanksgiving?
Yeah. I know some
Usually
Texas
not.
families that do.
Yeah, they do. Well, I mean, brisket at any time is
It's
fantastic.
great, yeah.
But no, usually we're a traditional like turkey ham kind of family.
Fuck ham.
That's how I will not be
I've
eating
always
any of
said
it.
fuck ham.
I will not be eating any of it, but I will see it there when I pass by the mill line.
We used to do that at Christmas. My
Yeah.
grandparents' house. They're old school ham on Christmas, which again, ham is fine. I don't hate ham. I'm a very picky eater,
It's
so I
a-
do hate a lot of things, but I just like I don't have any you know what ham is like? Ham is like a Christmas story. It's fine, but I've done it too many times in my life. I
can't-
don't need to do it anymore. In fact, I definitely like A Christmas Story less than I used to.
That's a perfect analogy because I can't stand A Christmas Story. So it is exactly
And it's like ham, same
in
thing.
this.
Like it's
Yeah.
just not. I'm like, okay, fine.
I don't get it. You're
I'd
gonna
rather
put
go
your
to
eye out.
Wendy's.
Scud Farkas, the lamp, all that. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, and I'm seeing these commercials again with like the kid all grown up, and it's the
Well,
lamp,
good-
and I'm
well,
like,
good for
wow,
him,
great. You know,
Because what else is
I
he
get
doing?
it. Have you ever seen Slapshot? I
No,
think we've talked about this.
I obviously
There's a
know other than
formative
anybody.
scene in Slapshot where Paul Newman has just banged this MILF. And you don't see them banging, but afterwards you do see her topless and she's got a great rack on her. And she's talking about a lesbian experience she's had recently with her friend. Very erotic conversation. And I just found out a few years ago that the woman who plays that woman in Slapshot is the mom in A Christmas Story, which is great. It's just great. I don't think anyone else from that movie has any other staying power in
Except
the
Paul-
film industry.
Well, Paul Newman.
No, I mean.
Oh, you're talking about from A Christmas Story. I thought you were talking about from Slapshot. So I
No,
was like,
dude.
well,
The star player in Slapshot who doesn't want to fight is Sheriff Harry S. Truman in Twin Peaks,
oh, okay.
who I've tried to get on the show. Michael Oatkeen.
I said no.
I can't reach him.
Oh.
Can't reach him. He's in his 80s. Anyway, he doesn't do much. Michael Oatkeen. That's how you say it. Anyway. I do have to talk about sports today. Bummer. I know. But we all know the Patriots stink. Breaking news. Do we have a breaking news sound?
Not on my
Yeah,
little
it's fine,
sound
it's
effect
fine.
thing.
Breaking news: the Patriots stink. They're 3-9, and if you watch any of their games this season, you'll understand pretty quickly why they are 3-9. They don't have any talent. They don't have any talent. I'm a broken record on this show saying how they got 2 players on the team, right? Of any NFL quality. They have no talent at all. That was apparent to you, to me, to all of you listening and watching months ago, if not years ago. Like there wasn't like much in the way of expectations going into this season from any of us, nor anyone around the league. And yet, apparently, this idea, this reality that the Patriots suck is just dawning on the owners of the team, the Kraft family. We all saw it week after week after week, and apparently this is news to the Krafts that they're not good, that they're in a rebuild. Burt Breer went on NBC Sports Boston last night and broke that news to us because Trenny Casey asked if you could describe this season in one word other than disappointing, what would it be from the Kraft standpoint? Here's what Burt Breer had to say.
The one I land on, though, is resigned. Like, I think that they understand where they're at. Like, they understand that it's going to take a while. And I think the reality of, look, this was always going to be a multi-offseason rebuild has hit them in the face. And so you're resigned to where you are. You had too many holes at too many premium positions to get it done in short order. And this is a transition year. And I think a lot of people around here have talked about this as if it's year 2 of the rebuild. It's not. It's year 1. And so you're certainly not out of the woods yet. And I think the Krafts are resigned to that right now.
Pretty well said. Apparently, they are resigned to the fact now that they stink and they're not going to be good next year, probably. And I thought Burt brought up a great point in there that a lot of people aren't necessarily understanding. And it's a drum I've been banging for weeks now. This is not like a couple quick fixes in free agency. Like you've got plenty of money to spend in free agency and you'll have premium draft position. But this is not like, hey, we should get 1 or 2 of these guys in here and we're in the playoffs next year. No, this is the demolition stage of it. Okay? This is not, we're not picking up the pieces. We're not putting the final pieces in there. This is the explosion. Like this is the whole franchise imploding right now. You thought it was last year, but then you didn't act upon it. You didn't go out and get anything in free agency. You didn't have a lot of money. You re-signed a bunch of those guys that were core pieces from a team that was 4-13 and guys that weren't young. I mean, like Ramondre Stevenson should be age-wise in his prime, but like this was not Devon Godshaw's first contract. It was not Jabril Peppers' first contract. Anthony Jennings, like these guys, they're not like 23-year-old guys that you're like, hey, we can build around. These are guys you would re-sign as if to say, we're ready to get there now. We need some leadership that is also going to give us plenty of production on the field. Veteran guys who know what they're doing out here. Those are the kind of guys you re-signed. So that's a great point of clearly this organization thought they were already in the middle of a rebuild. They were not. They were fooling themselves. They were looking themselves in the mirror and saying, we are 1 season away from being a playoff team. And really, there's still another season or 2 after this one away from being a playoff team. I've used this term plenty of times throughout the year. Complete roster overhaul. We are not talking about 1 or 2 guys. And it just amazes me that this is news to the ownership. Like, oh, wow, maybe picking a guy 5 years in advance, the year after the Patriots had won a Super Bowl, picking a guy 5 years in advance who had never even been a coordinator to be your head coach, maybe that wasn't a great idea. And Burt Breer also in that monologue talks about, what some of these other teams did, including the Chargers. Like everyone knew after they fired their guy, Staley, that they were going to go with Jim Harbaugh. But they interviewed 10 or 15 people. And they probably knew who they were going to go with as Harbaugh's GM. It was the guy that worked with John Harbaugh for years, Ortiz. But they interviewed a bunch of guys because that's what you do. You don't pick a head coach 5 years in advance who was coming off of 1 year as the inside linebackers coach. You don't do that. Competent franchises don't do that. And right now, the Patriots are not a competent franchise. They're showing it to you week after week, and they're showing it to you with the 53-man roster that they've got out there. So, yeah, it pisses me off every time I think about it that they didn't even interview Ben Johnson. someone who could come in and actually change the direction of your team and your franchise when you know you're drafting a franchise quarterback number 3 overall. It just baffles me that they were so against that and wanting to keep it in the family so bad. Like, if you want to keep it in the family, like, this is what I'm not getting. This is like wanting to keep it in the family, but you're getting rid of Michael Jordan only to have Marcus Jordan. Like, why wouldn't you keep the guy that was still pretty good, that has the pedigree, that has the resume? If you're gonna keep it in the family, why are you getting Belichick out of town? That's what I'm still not understanding that. Like, if you're gonna get rid of the greatest coach who's ever coached in this league, okay, he's lost his fastball. Fine. Then let's go a different direction. If he's lost his fastball and he's not keeping up with the league anymore and how it works, let's get someone who is succeeding in the league right now, someone with different ideas, instead of someone who was not even a coordinator, who had only coached under Bill Belichick. Speaking of Michael Jordan, tough day for Michael Jordan yesterday. The Patriots released him. Yes, Mike Jordan, the offensive lineman from the worst offensive line in the league. Pro Football Network ranking it as 32nd out of 32 teams. And I think that's honestly a little flattering. I think there are some teams who have reserve offensive linemen who can put up a better 5-man unit than what the Patriots put out there every week. Michael Jordan, not good enough for that unit in particular. Hope you like Canada. The Grey Cup is fantastic because that's what you're looking at if you can't crack the lineup in this offensive line. And let's go over that offensive line, the guys that Elliott Wolf brought in. Remember what I said the other day about how you do need a complete rebuild, and I don't exactly trust the guys who are at the wheel here. I don't exactly trust Gerard Mayo. I don't exactly trust Elliott Wolf at GM. Well, let's see whom Elliott Wolf has brought in at offensive line. Michael Jordan, gone. Nick Leverett, gone. Chuks Okorafor, gone from the sport. Walked away from the sport of football entirely a couple weeks into playing with the Patriots. Caden Wallace, 3rd-round pick, injured. Layden Robinson, benched. Can't even crack it with this team. DeMontre Jacobs, who was benched at the end of last week. 40 pressures and 7 penalties. I mean, we are talking about just bottom of the barrel, isn't quite cutting it. These are the guys that Elliott Wolf has brought in. And I know it's easy to say, hey, well, you don't just pick up a franchise left tackle in free agency, or you don't just trade for a franchise left tackle. How about either tackle just being NFL competent? He hasn't done that either. This was a 30th probably a 30th ranked offensive line last year on a team that won 4 games, and you did nothing to improve it. Bringing in Jags would have been an upgrade, and you didn't do that. You brought in glorified group of 5 college players that cannot cut it in this league. So yeah, you can't go out and just get a franchise left tackle willy-nilly, but can you get somebody that is competent to play on the offensive line? The answer for Elliott Wolf so far is no. No, he cannot do it. And maybe this is one of the reasons why it's year 1 of the rebuild. If you cut bait with some of these veteran guys that you re-signed instead and made some savvy moves, maybe got some draft capital and drafted well, then you wouldn't be talking about year 1 of a rebuild. Maybe things would have started to improve when Drake May elevated your team. Instead, the other parts that were still shitty before Drake May got in there, they still suck, and some of them are getting worse. The defense is getting worse. The offensive line, statistically, is a little bit worse, but Drake May covers that up because he looks good. The drops, those are worse. The run game, just about as bad, if not worse. Stopping the run, worse. Coverage, worse. Forcing turnovers, way worse. This team is like maybe year 0 of a rebuild. Maybe next year they're in year one of a rebuild. That's how far behind they are. And luckily for you, the Jets might have to blow it up after this year, but you're still nowhere near Miami or, God forbid, Buffalo. You're not even in the same league as Buffalo. So I think that's a good point of we're not in the middle of a rebuild with the Patriots. We are in the beginning of a rebuild. You thought bottoming out was last year. This is probably going to be bottom. And they might even win 5 games, but this team is even worse than last year. But thankfully you do have Drake May. But this goes back to my point of I don't think they can turn around a contender before his rookie contract is done. Which is really too bad because that is a golden opportunity that you've missed. It's going to be 4 straight years without the playoffs, right? No, 3 straight years without the playoffs. 3rd straight losing season. And apparently that's just good enough because you re-signed Jabril Peppers and Anthony Jennings and Ramondre Stevenson and Devon Godshaw. That's great. That's wonderful. Where does that get you? Bottoming out again. So no, I don't trust Gerard Mayo and Elliott Wolf as it is right now. I don't trust DeMarcus Covington. As much as we shit on Alex Van Pelt and that offense, especially the first couple of weeks, like he's doing a heck of a lot better job than DeMarcus Covington, a guy who was coaching the defensive line. I think Breer brought this up too, actually. I said this at the beginning of the season. Defensive line to defensive coordinator is really not a path that's well-traveled because you know nothing about the coverage. You don't do anything with coverage. Linebackers coach to defensive coordinator, that happens because you got to know all 3 levels as a linebackers coach. I don't know if it's good enough to become the head coach like Gerard Mayo did from linebackers coach, but that's a pretty common path to go from linebackers coach to defensive coordinator, not defensive line coach to defensive coordinator. And wouldn't you know, they can't cover anybody in a phone booth. Crazy. Who could have saw that coming? Yeah, this is a total blow up rebuild. Tear it all down. You're still tearing it down. You're tearing it down inch by inch for 17 weeks of the season. And boy, it's tough to watch. Bruins are kind of tough to watch too. And so is this thing with the baseball offseason. Are we going to be in a position where I'm just bitching about the Dodgers all the time? We'll talk about that next on the Cam Show.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast. Look at this. We got one of the great golfers in the world, certainly one of the great pass rushers in NFL history.
But he also had a vision for you. And so it was like you had the best of both worlds, right? You had somebody on you early, and then you had somebody who was maybe more relaxed.
What were a couple of your biggest takeaways? The first thing you referred to that I've spoken to some personnel people and general managers of the league to get some, independent, objective assessments of the players the Cowboys picked, and we'll go through that. Has the general manager changed at all in the draft for you?
Nope, it's been the same since I was here the last time.
Yeah, it's the Cam Show. It's the day before Thanksgiving. a special hump day, if you will. Hump day that feels like a Friday, although most people aren't working. Did you notice that? And that's not even a complaint of like, I'm okay. My job here is not that tough. I don't mind working on this Wednesday, but I just noticed it on like the roads this morning.
It's nice.
And I know none of the schools are open. Colleges are not open. I did not get, when I was in college, I did not get the week off. I took the week off one time, which was ill-advised, but we did not get the week off. In fact, I think I had a class on a Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I might be wrong on that, but definitely Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, no, I don't feel like we got a whole week. Like I feel like I had classes at least Monday and Tuesday of that week.
And in school growing up,
Oh, it was always you got out the Wednesday.
yeah, half day on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I don't even think they do that now. My girlfriend works at a school, alternative school, to be fair, so maybe it's different, but they didn't have school all week.
Huh.
What a sham.
Yeah.
I used to have to walk to school.
Uphill
Both ways.
in the snow?
Yeah.
Huh.
I did actually have a stretch where I was walking to school. And I loved it. I loved it. It's from my mom's house, which was, I don't know, maybe a 20-minute walk from the school. I really loved it.
No,
It was awesome.
I did for a stretch too. My grandparents lived not too far away from there, so I would walk from school to their house, which was like not 20, it was like a 10. You know, if I kind of meandered a bit about, I could stretch it out to 15. Just, I don't know, just
Taking my
taking
time.
my time. Yeah,
I was listening to gangster rap.
on my headphones. Yeah,
Yeah. Keep Their Heads Ringing was one I remember
ring
listening
ding
to all the
dong,
time.
ring a ding
by
ding
Dre.
ding dong.
Anyway, I'm old enough to remember a time where there was a luxury tax in baseball and teams were afraid of it. Now, 4 maybe teams are not afraid of it at all. They treat it like it doesn't exist, and the others treat it like it's the third rail, like it is a bomb. You cannot touch it. One of the teams that does not care about it, obviously, the team that cares about it the least, the LA Dodgers, are at it again. I was just talking myself into Blake Snell a few days ago because it sounded like the Red Sox were in on the big three free agent pitchers, which were Snell, Max Fried, and Corbin Burns. I started looking at the numbers, crunching the numbers, Zach. And I was like, Corbin Burns is still a good pitcher, no doubt, but I'm taking the other two.
Mhm.
I like their fly ball rate, which is something I always look at Fenway. I think their numbers are not dipping quite like Corbin Burns has. Corbin Burns has some numbers that are going down at the wrong time in his career. And I'm like, but Blake Snell is one of those guys that'll give you a couple mediocre months and then give you a Cy Young.
Mm-hmm.
And it's happened that he's
Turned
won
it
2 Cy
on
Youngs.
with the Giants. Yeah.
Like, yeah. I'm like, I'm okay with that. I don't like pitchers wearing single digits, but that's the old man in me. And apparently, I guess the Red Sox did not have a shot because they don't play in the National League West.
Yeah. No, he's making his rounds there.
Padres, money. Giants, money. Short, but money. And now the Dodgers. Do you have the contract on that one?
Yeah, let me pull that up real quick.
I mean, the Dodgers are in on everyone at this point, but that was one I was not expecting. And I mean, for all that we said about the Yankees for decades, and it's true, you know, outspending everybody 2-1, and they just this embarrassment of riches that they can't even get everything right. Like that's what the Dodgers are right now. They have a World Series team that didn't even use Tyler Glass now. You know, it was their big money guy last year.
Yeah.
Do we have the contract?
Yeah, it's
here?
5 years, $182 million. Here's something else sad to it.
Deferred.
Yeah, it is a lot of deferred, but here's something that's interesting too that I saw good old Bob Nightingale tweet out was that the Giants are paying Blake Snell $15 million this season and a $17 million signing bonus in January of 2026. So the Giants are paying him to pitch against them too. I mean, if you're Blake Snell, it's a nice win, money wise.
See, okay, now here's going to be a good test. And I don't think it'll happen. But if that happened outside of California, he would need a police detail for that first start back at the old park. Like if that happened between Philly and Atlanta, Boston and New York, the Mets and the Phillies, like that would be a dangerous scene. Remember Baker Mayfield going back to Tech? That's what it would be like. If you went to their biggest rival within the division
And they're paying you.
and took $30 million from you,
And the Giants and
would be-
Dodgers already don't get along too
no,
well.
they hate each other.
Yeah.
They hate each other, and those do have like fights in the
Outside
parking
the
lots and
stadium, yeah.
everything. California sports fans are but I think this could charge something up. Like, fuck that. I would get so angry. And so then, yeah, of course, we get afterwards that the Red Sox were making a real push. Oh, great. Oh, great. Now they're going to look towards Max Fried. I don't know what this changes about, going after two of those three guys. Does it now become those two guys that are left, or are you just putting your eggs in the Max Fried basket in free agency and going out and trading for one of these guys? I saw a Garrett Crochet proposal today. It was,
I saw that too.
3 top 10 prospects. I don't think that's going to happen. I understand why the White Sox are going for that, right? I mean, talk about a rebuild. We talk about Patriots rebuild. I mean, they're like 2 years away from even looking like a rebuild. But to that same end, it's like the White Sox are as embarrassed as a team has ever been. 3 years after they won the division and won close to 100 games, if not 100 games, they're the worst team in the history of the league. So that actually does not play well into their hands in terms of bartering, right? I mean, because there are going to be teams that are going to say, you lost 120 games last year. Take it or leave it. And I think the Red Sox, if they have some balls, can do that. Like the Chris Sale trade was for their top 2 prospects. And you got a guy who was, looked like a Hall of Famer at the time in his prime. Like that, you've got some leverage at the table if you're Chicago. You've got a guy who looks pretty damn good, looks like a future Cy Young winner who's about to go in his prime as well, but you're also the worst of the worst. So if you're looking at those 3 top 10 prospects for the Red Sox, they could also say, how about we give you one? We give you a guy, Wilyer Abreu, who played every day and finished top 3, top 2 in the AL Rookie of the Year voting. And maybe if we like you, we'll throw in Tristan Casas, another guy who was in the top 3 of the AL Rookie of the Year voting the year before and has really shown he can be a pro hitter. Like if I'm the Red Sox, I'm like, take it or leave it. Here's 2 guys from my everyday lineup. You're not getting 3 of my top 10 prospects, but here's 2 guys from my everyday lineup. And we'll go out and get Juan Soto to play right field. I think the Red Sox, maybe I'm being naive in that. I think the Red Sox can play hardball with teams like Chicago and Seattle for those starting pitchers, because they do have the money to go out and get a Max Fried and or a Corbin Burns. And so once you have that, you can kind of play hardball with like, well, you know what? I already got him. I already got my guy. I'd really like to have Garrett Crochet, or I'd really like to have Logan Gilbert, but I can wait another year on that. Or I can wait till the deadline. It's usually you get a worse price at the deadline. But I can wait another year on that. You guys go lose 110 games this year. Or Seattle, you go finish in 3rd or 4th. And then come back to us. And that by that point, we'll kind of know that one of those prospects isn't good enough. We'll give you him then. I think they can kind of hold him over a barrel a little bit. But the Dodgers are showing what ambition looks like in the offseason. There's a reason why they won the World Series. The Yankees showed what ambition's like. They get Juan Soto. That's why they get to the World Series. The Padres show it year after year. And one of these days, they might get there. They might get there. But that is, and I said it after the World Series at the time, that World Series matchup showed you perfectly what you need to do to win in this league. You've got to spend the money. You look at a Cleveland team that has done everything right in terms of development. They developed that team. They're not good enough to beat the Yankees. It's too bad. It's a fun team to root for. They're not good enough to beat the Yankees. I mean, you look at the Dodgers too. The Mets were actually, I thought, pretty smart with their money the last few years. They've had to cut bait with some people, but I thought they were pretty smart with it. Not good enough. Not good enough. You need to be reckless with your money. Is what we're seeing once again in Major League Baseball after kind of a brief hiatus with it. The Astros did not go stupid with their money. Obviously, the Royals, this is going back a decade now. The Royals were pretty good with their money. The Giants were not splashing cash. They certainly weren't paying for star pitchers to pitch against them like they are now. But that era might be gone for now. Okay. I think the teams have felt out the luxury tax. They know what it is. And a team like the Dodgers has decided we don't care. The Stephen A. Smith meme. We don't care about the luxury tax. That's what it's going to take to succeed in this league. And thankfully for the Red Sox, they're not the Royals. They're not Cleveland. They're not Tampa. They're not Pittsburgh. That's the name of the game right now. You can't keep up with those teams in terms of their development, but you can spend the money. So there's no excuses now. So I'm interested to see where they go with this starting pitching specifically. Soto is going to be the hot, sexy name of this. And of course, that's what we're going to be focusing on too. But they have plenty of options at starting pitcher. They need to bring one or two in. I'm talking top end guys. And if they do that, they could be a contender as early as next year. You know what's really bugging me before we head to this Hall of Fame thing, Zach? So I know you guys don't have this around here, but where I'm from, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we do Thanksgiving football, high school football, Thanksgiving morning. Always such a fun time. And Rockland would play 10 a.m. There's some long-standing traditions.
Is it like a playoff game though? Or?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. So this is, I'll have to break this down a little bit. Because now, as of when I was in school, so 10 years ago, they switched to a playoff format that is like Texas. It's 6 wins. And so now it's kind of a throw-in game. So you play the postseason, and those teams that don't make because it's still 11 games. So those teams that don't make the postseason will play the other teams that didn't make the postseason. So half your schedule is not drawn out before the season. And then you have your Thanksgiving game. And they wanted to keep that intact because some of these teams have been playing for 120, 130 years on Thanksgiving. A town next to us, Abington, has been playing Whitman Hanson for 110 years. And Rockland didn't have a great rivalry like that, but it was, a local team and one that would play against each other all growing up. And it was always Thanksgiving morning. Now they have ditched East Bridgewater as the rival. They're now playing North Middlesex Regional High School, which is an hour and a half away. And they play it on Wednesday. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
What the hell is that? That's like, okay, we're going to do Thanksgiving. It's going to be Tuesday lunch, and it's going to be spaghetti and meatballs.
Yeah.
I like spaghetti and meatballs.
I do too, but it just doesn't have the same ring for, fuck him.
So fucking meatloaf on Tuesday afternoon for Thanksgiving. Like, what the hell is that?
No, I don't. It's kind of like,
it's one of the few traditions we still have. Like,
I mean, and maybe this is me harping too much on it, but S being here in Texas versus Texas A&M is coming back again for the first time in 13 years. And usually that was a Friday after Thanksgiving tradition in the afternoon that you'd sit there and you'd watch it. Even if you didn't have a team, it was still just like the rivalry of the state and you'd still watch it. So Saturday night prime time, like I get why they're doing it, but it's like, I got other things to do Saturday. Like, there's other games going on. It felt special because it was it by itself there.
I wish it was Thanksgiving night. That'd be great.
They did that there for a while too. That was fun. Yeah.
Yep.
Either way, like, some of these big college football rivalries, like I appreciate that. I think Georgia Tech is on Friday. Granted, Georgia's going to blow the brakes off Georgia Tech, but still, like, I appreciate that kind of thing. I'm like trying to make it. Yeah.
That's Friday.
Is it Friday with Bama and Auburn?
I think usually is.
Yeah. But I appreciate them trying to do that. So moving it to where it feels like another college football game, a big one, is just kind of, so I get what you're saying.
So I hate that. I hate that. It's too bad. That used to be a great tradition. 10 a.m., you're out by noon, and then you go and have Thanksgiving. It was always great. Anyway, we got to put players in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We did it with baseball last week. We're going to send you into your Thanksgiving with Hall of Fame vote and what we're thankful for here at the Cam Show. Hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you Monday right back here. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow along on Instagram And we will see you Monday on the Camp Show.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down to afterwards, was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
It is Matt Mosley, and it's the Obstructed View podcast, Rogue Media Network. I think they're learning that there's really no wonderful view of me. See, I feel like they think this feed's going to be really wonderful.
There must have been no BS, like 20 scouts, 15 to 20 NBA scouts there to see him, and he was top 5.
When your old number wasn't working, I went through various channels to track you down. So unfortunately, you can never get away from me. But I'm happy. Man. I'm happy to have you today.
No, thanks for having me. And you know we always family, no matter where I'm at.
I mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to turn the roster. I think that's just we've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but you know, he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
Look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
Decided who was going into the Baseball Hall of Fame last week.
Now it seems like honestly, like Cam decided. We didn't.
And
have
now I was not like you guys. Your guys' ballots were closer to the actual result than mine was.
Yeah,
true.
So
I think I updated Cam earlier of the public ballots that are out there. The 3 guys that are so far going into this class this year are Billy Wagner, Ichiro Suzuki, and CC Sabathia. So
I picked 2 of those.
I picked 1.
Well, let's just blame me, right? Yeah.
I picked all 3.
Anyway, so Rogue Sports Team is going to now continue their duty. I mean, people have been thanking us for our service left, right, and center.
Saving America.
Comments, emails, people on the streets. They're like, thank you for doing this for baseball and therefore for our great nation. And so I said, well, I guess we're going to have to do this with football as well. We have semifinalists. So we'll probably revisit this when they're actual finalists. But a list of 25. I have set the cap on 5 for us. And I'll just put out this one kind of, not ground rule. There's no rules to this. But the way I'm going to look at it is you don't have to say, oh, well, this is this guy's last year on the ballot, so I'm going to put him in. You don't have to do that. Let's be independent of that. But if you want to say, hey, this guy is a Hall of Famer, but it's just going to be down the line because I only have 5, then you can do that because we're only picking 5, unlike baseball. So does anyone want to start? How do we want to do this?
I don't mind going first.
Go first, Zach Burke.
So there are guys on the list that I could see going down, like you talked about. Like Reggie Wayne was a name for me that eventually is a Hall of Famer. He's just not on one of my top 5. Same with a guy like Rodney Harrison, who I think is for sure a Hall of Famer, just not on my 5 right now. My 5 right now, I had made a point or a case for Torrey Holt a couple months ago when we did a Guys Naming Dudes, but because we inducted him into Guys Naming Dudes, I put he'll be a semifinalist again and not going in. He's not one of the 5. Here are my 5.
That's a good way to think about it.
The one wide receiver that had to get in out of the bunch to me, Steve Smith. I think Steve Smith is the wide receiver that from this class that out of the rest of them deserves to be in there.
I should also mention this too. We went big into the stats, some of us for baseball. We're not
for,
doing that
yeah.
with this just because of the time thing. So it's a lot of vibes here. I
That is,
Scotty
I
did
am
his research. But the rest of us,
I
are
have
going
the
by,
stats
like,
to
I
back
think
up
this
my
was
list.
a-
I'll
Okay,
just say that.
okay. I think the three of us are going to be like, that's a Hall of Fame guy, Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, I kind of
And
went
we're
off
open about that.
off vibe. One of his teammates that he played with that is also a Hall of Famer is Luke Kuechly on my list here for 5. I'm going to stay defense and pick up a Patriot and at least a Houston Texan for a little bit. I think Vince Wilfork was one of the most dominant defensive tackles there has been in a long time, and I think he deserves to be in. And we're going to continue to maybe not pick everybody thought. I think Adam Vinatieri gets in. He's going to be the 6th kicker, and the reason I put that is because look through the history of the league, there is nobody that fits that same way in the other 5 might have a Hall of Famer on that same level as Adam Vinatieri. I think the crew puts in it's not a position you pick a lot, but he's definitely done a lot. And then my last one, Marshall Yanda from the Baltimore Ravens, because I'm a big guy and I like seeing good guys get in. And the late great Gil Brandt had him listed as his 11th best guard in NFL history.
Oh, that's a great little nugget there.
In NFL history, with the other guys ranked after him, including somebody like Steve Hutchinson, who's already in the NFL Hall of Fame, ranking lower than Yandel. So those are my
guys
5.
like Zach to get guards in, so that's cool.
Hey, I played
Darcy
both sides of the
loves
line.
you, man.
I love the big boys. Without those guys on both sides of the line, football doesn't happen. So
I would like to go next.
Please.
And then we can let our two
Please.
distinguished
Floor
hosts,
is
Go
the
ahead.
talent, go and have Because here's the thing. I said there were 3 of the 5 that I think should be no-brainers. And Zach, you got 2 of them. So
Okay.
Keekly's a no-brainer. I think he's the best middle linebacker since Ray Lewis. I don't think there's any question. To me, Vinatieri is a no-brainer. He's the all-time leading scorer in the sport. I don't think you can say there's anyone that has a better argument for best kicker of all time, best at his position. Vinatieri is a shoo-in. For me, the third guy that has to get in, and I'm shocked you didn't mention him, and I put him in above Steve Smith, who would have been my first one out, is Antonio Gates. He has the most touchdowns of any tight end in NFL history. He changed the position. He started the wave of, I played basketball, so I can play tight end in the league. He's a legend. The other 2 for me, Darren Woodson is overdue. He's the Cowboys' all-time leading tackler. He's a true hybrid safety who could play the run in the pass. He needs to be in there. And then for me, it's James Harrison. It's James Harrison. And it's because he is the only undrafted player to ever win the AP Defensive Player of the Year. And he made perhaps the greatest play in Super Bowl history, the longest play from scrimmage in Super Bowl history, with his return of a pick against Kurt Warner.
Amazing.
Kurt Warner, a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Right. Picked him off, ran it back 100
Probably one of the
yards.
best Super Bowls of all time.
One of the best Super Bowls. Perhaps the game. I mean, when we look back at that game, perhaps the most pivotal play in that game, James Harrison got my 5th. My first 2 out, though, Zach, were Steve Smith and Vince Wilfork.
I'll just add on
Those are good picks.
Antonio Gates. He was on my short list too, so I get that.
It's a really good list.
It was John
Malcolm
Madden's
Butler made
last
the best
game
play
at
in Super Bowl history, but
All right.
that is a great list. That is a great- those are all
Okay.
Zach, I'm still figuring out.
I'm ready to go.
All right, that's fine. I told you I wanted to be a little different.
I'm surprised, by the way, so far, I'm surprised how similar we've been. The top of my list was Adam Vinatieri. I think that's one of the most underrated positions in football, and he's easily one of the best ever to do it. There's just no question about that. I have Steve Smith as well. Steve Smith, just the way, not only was he like a stat stuffer, but he was a total winner. Like everybody, when he was a rookie, he punched a teammate in a film session. I don't remember, he got suspended. So he was a kick returner primarily. But yeah, Steve Smith was a great teammate after he stopped kicking people's ass. And he was a big play guy. Antonio Gates. How do you stop Antonio Gates? Really, I mean, it was one. He was one of the first guys that was like and like you said, he was he changed the game. You know, he really did. A transitional player for the NFL. Here's where it gets controversial. I have Eli Manning going in. I do. I think there's
one of your 5
no.
ballot Eli Manning.
I think there is something to be said about winning a Super Bowl and winning 2 Super Bowls and finding a way to win. It's not like, look.
By the way, this is why you asked about which ballot we're going off of, because it's like, can I Veterans Committee Jim Plunkett in here?
I think where there are guys like Dan Marino, who I do think it's bullshit that he gets ripped for not winning a Super Bowl. There's also guys like Eli Manning, where winning a Super Bowl is what it's all about. You win 2 as the quarterback, by the way, and I know Cam's going to freak out, in New York. So I got news for you guys. If you don't like this, he's going to get in.
No. He's going to get in because he wanted New York.
I mean, you can use like, hey, he beat the Patriots both times.
That's a hell of an accomplishment, man.
I think
that you could use.
Try winning in New York. It's a pressure cooker.
I know, but like, okay, so that's better than winning
as the quarterback. No, I'm just. There's the little asterisk next to that.
He's going to get in. There's just no way he's in the top 5 most deserving on this list.
No, but I can tell you a lot of the research I did just looking at other people's lists, he's a lot for most people to get in, which I didn't have him on my short list.
And I thought about it too. This just to wrap this up with the final thought. I did think, even last night I honestly forgot to watch it, but I get a kick out of the Manning cast, and I'm like,
great.
Yeah. So I was like, make sure you're not in love with the Eli Manning, and that's why you're putting him in. No, I really like Eli Manning.
Well, let's clear the air here. Are you in love with Eli Manning?
No, but I am wearing a 3/4 zip. Right? Is that what this is? Yeah, quarter zip.
You look like
All right.
Manning.
Final one. For who? For what? Ricky Williams. Ricky Williams. Ricky Waters. Sorry.
Real conviction there.
For a second, I was like, hold on. Did I miss?
Heisman Trophy.
Did I
winner in
miss?
there.
I support the Ricky Waters.
Ricky Waters, okay? Ricky Waters was such a dynamic dual threat. He ran angry. He was on teams that won. He won a Super Bowl in San Francisco. He was on a lot of good Eagles teams. And I remember him as being such a threat running and catching that he was always so dangerous. And that is a guy, to what Cam's saying, that I'm going totally off my vibe here.
No, that's vibe was as a kid.
And for those of you who don't know the story, the Eagles, in his first year after signing a huge contract with the Eagles, in his first game, they were playing the Buccaneers. The Eagles were getting killed, and a pass was thrown to Ricky Williams, and he short-armed it. And they were like, "Hey, Ricky, do you know the story? Ricky Waters."
Yeah.
And Ricky Waters, and he short-armed. And he short-armed it, right? Like, so after the game, they were like, "Hey, Ricky, like, there was that pass in the fourth quarter. You clearly didn't lay out for it. Is there a reason why?" And he said, "For who? For what?" And right away, he was like the bane of Philly fans' existence. But, of course, he won us over with great play.
I think he's the only one who's had a quote that's probably kept him out.
Like, seriously.
Remember for one.
Yeah, that's a great call, Cam. Yeah.
A lot like Roger Craig, who is also not in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, Roger Craig he was a menacing back, man. Catching passes, too. Yeah.
James White.
A lot of cocaine. Very good.
Not that James White. You just like you're having a lot of trouble here.
Go ahead. Keep going.
All right.
It's the whole thing we were talking about of players with the same names before we got into the segment.
Pete's just giving them the same name. I don't know. Anyway, my 5. This first one I have argued for on this show. I did a whole segment about it in the summer, so I can't go any further without saying Rodney Harrison.
Okay.
Hall of Fame. Most sacks all time by a defensive back.
I'm cool with that.
Didn't need to look that one up. It's right up here. Number 2, Boston College legend, Luke Kuechly. Yeah. Just a monster, man. Could do anything on a football field.
What? Rookie?
My God, he could have ran the offense.
Did he also, was it Rookie of the Year, and then the next year he was Defensive Player of the Year, or did he win them both the same
Within
year?
short order.
Yeah, it was
Within
very short.
order. Short career. It's too bad he didn't win that Super Bowl. Mainly because it just gave Peyton Manning another one. Speaking of the Carolina Panthers, put Steve Smith in there. I just like that dude was never appreciated enough because most of the time the Panthers stunk. I know Pete thinks he's a big winner, but he did not win a Super Bowl, and most of the time the Panthers stunk, and he stuck with them. It's kind of like what Dame Lillard did with the Blazers if he had never left. Like, there's a certain respect for that, and was just a dog, man. Like, was
I feel like
the biggest,
Dame Lillard
was
gets more
not
credit
the
than he
fastest,
does.
and he was an absolute dude. Like, a possession receiver, big play receiver. Love Steve Smith. Number 4 is number 4. The greatest clutch kicker of all time, Adam Vinatieri. Did we all have Adam Vinatieri?
We all had Adam Vinatieri.
Oh, and Steve Smith? We all had you. Oh, he was first out.
Steve
Okay.
Smith.
He would be first out for me.
So Vinatieri is the only unanimous ballot we have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is he the greatest kicker of all time, pure skill wise? Actually, probably not. But the clutch kicks. I mean, you can't. And he played for freaking like 30 years. Like you can't knock that. And the clutch kicks that he had, winning Super Bowls with 2 different franchises, putting together clutch kicks for 2 different franchises, played more for the Colts than he did for the Patriots.
He has the
no
most
doubt.
points in the sport.
All-time leading scorer.
Put his bust up there.
That's pretty good.
So, yeah, I'm going to Vinatieri. Now, this one was really tough. Really tough. And this is why I had to lean on, maybe this guy's not a first ballot. He'll get in down the line. But Vince Wilfork is arguably the greatest nose tackle ever to play. But that said, I can't sit here and say I need Rodney Harrison in the Hall of Fame without saying we also need Darren Woodson in the Hall of Fame.
Good man over there.
Because John Lynch is already in, and I think both of these guys are better than John Lynch. John Lynch, great player, deserved Hall of Famer, great box safety. But Darren Woodson is one of the best coverage safeties in the history of the league. In fact, you want to talk about changing the position at tight end with Antonio Gates. What did Darren Woodson do for these safeties, man? Safeties were guys who weren't quick enough to be corners. And now you still see that, but safeties are big-time athletes. You're using first-round picks on safeties, because of their coverage. Darren Woodson's a big part of that. So is Rodney Harrison. God, I love Rodney Harrison.
So was Eric Turner. God rest his soul.
Yes.
Second pick in the draft.
Yeah. I love Rodney Harrison. So I'm going to put Wilfork in there next year.
All right, fine.
So, and probably Antonio Gates too. But anyway, Rodney Harrison, Darren Woodson, Adam Vinatieri, Steve Smith, and Luke Kuechly. Congratulations. You will get outfitted for a Rogue Media Sports gold jacket, which will be just a little bit more piss-colored than the Pro Football Hall of Fame, as if to not get sued. Anyway, any parting thoughts? Anyone been to Canton?
Yeah, I have.
Really?
Yeah. Hall of Fame
when
game.
you got inducted?
No. Yeah. I was
I'd like to go. I love the.
I was pretty messed up on drugs at the time, but I was there. I was there for the. I actually watched a movie. I actually watched a movie. There was a guy named Travis Jervey who was a kick returner for the 49ers.
Yeah.
He played for the Packers. So I watched a movie with Jervey and this other guy, Jim Nagy, who's now the for the it's crazy memory. We watched American Psycho, the 3 of us. And then, Jervey played that
At the
night.
Hall of Fame?
In Canton, at Jervey's hotel room. And then after the game, they played the Patriots. It was Tom Brady's, I think, first game. It was fall of 2000. Yeah. So that would make sense, right?
He came in during the Thanksgiving game in 2000. His first game start would have been fall of 2001.
Okay. So
September
yeah.
23rd.
Okay. Yeah. He wasn't even on the team yet. Yeah.
He would have been a rookie in 2000. But
Yes.
anyway, Pete, Scotty, Zach, we have pushed it up against the clock.
Yeah.
We hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving holiday. Okay. We've already told you, but we really hope that you have a great Thanksgiving and that you're thankful for us because we're thankful for you.
But Tom Brady played in the Hall of Fame game, so it was his
Yes,
first
he
game.
did.
Okay, well, why did you? I asked you a question,
talking about?
and you had to razzle dazzle
You
it with
did
all
fall,
this Patriots lingo.
Well,
Sorry,
the Hall of
Cam.
Fame game would have been the summer, and yes, he did play that game against Giovanni.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. No.
You did you I
was at the Hall of Fame game. I said that.
I didn't hear that implication.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my bad. You were talking about watching American Psycho.
It's just
So that was the day of the game. And then after the game, Mark Megna introduced me to Willie McGinnis. He said this was the greatest player of all time, which was obviously not true, but very
Yeah, it's not that hard. Hall of Famer. We'll see you Monday.
You are here with your shoot first point guard, Corey Dickman. Also, if you're not creating new fans in a small market, then you're not creating that base of people to go to games and pay for merchandise and pay for stuff and concessions at the Moda Center and yada yada.
Yeah, let's talk draft. That's the only thing we have to look forward to.
The only thing we have to look forward to.
That's what I will teach my son. You will teach your daughter as Blazers fans. It's like, look, the two most exciting times of the year for us are the draft lottery and the draft itself. Like, here we are. This is our thing. Give me some memories and thoughts. I know you had mentioned kind of the first time you had met Bill. What were some of those first memories that came back when you heard the news?
Coming up on the Pete Souza Show, Rogue Media and ESPN's own King McClure talks to us about the NBA draft.
Team is banged
Are
up
you
a
getting
bit.
undressed while we're doing this?
No.
What is happening?
And it's partially because the team has like pretty kind
Wrong
of big problems.
podcast, Nick. Wrong podcast. When you're a golfer, what is the point of no return? He was the best play-by-play announcer around, in my opinion, and he made me want to continue to watch.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.